Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Leaders of the 21st Century. I'm Meredith Stutz.
And I'm Rajat Agarwal. We are both Communications Fellows in the class of 2016. We know it's been a busy day for everyone, but this event was created as an opportunity to honor Elon's most outstanding students and students who have had great academic achievements, honored for their personal characteristics, their service, their leadership, and their commitment to excellence has separated them as fellows and scholars, so they have made the very most of their Elon experience.
Next to raising my own children, I can't think of a greater privilege than to be a president of a university like this. Of course, this is a place where you're going to come and earn a degree, but it's also a place that's going to get you to think very deeply about how you're going to use that degree to make the world a better place.
When you can tell something's really taken hold, it's not just the eyes lighting up, but it also comes through in what they say and how they say it. And that's what makes us want to be teachers.
I am really invested in doing work with people at home and also abroad.
Service learning, internship opportunities, other cultures and being aware, words that you hear and read and write essays about, but I think the learning can actually happen only when you go there. That's where the growth occurs the most.
You don't realize how important it is to you until afterward. It's kind of like conquering things, and then by doing that, you kind of conquer something in yourself.
A lot of people at Elon are very driven, and they want to get involved, and they want to make opportunities for themselves.
I think you have to believe that what you're doing means something. That's what makes it worth it.
It takes patience. Simple hard work.
I wanted to be at a campus that was ready to take me and ready to improve me and better me. The best is yet to come.
Elon has really opened my eyes to things that I haven't been able to notice before. And it's an experience that I don't know if I would be able to replicate anywhere else.
I can't not love it here. It is home. What's on my mind is how to stay but keep going. It's going to be that constant struggle and balance always. It's in that you see where you've gone, and that's what's going to help take me where I want to go. Yeah, it's scary, but it's really exciting, and I can't wait. I just can't wait.
Now, please join us in welcoming Dr. Leo Lambert.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Meredith and Razat. Members of the class of 2016, warmest congratulations to all of you. I know all of you are feeling this weekend especially that you have changed in ways that you could not have anticipated 4 years ago. And I want to speak this afternoon very briefly about the two key ingredients that have played crucial roles in this process: the deep mentoring relationships you have had and the high-impact learning that you've experienced. I want to begin by taking a moment to thanking my faculty and staff colleagues who have been wonderful mentors to these extraordinary young men and women. Students, when you think about your experience at Elon, aren't you really thinking about your relationships with faculty and staff and with your fellow students? Hasn't that been the essence of what Elon has been about to you? To me, deep human relationships are at the bullseye of what it means to understand Elon and why the Fellows and Scholars programs have such an impact. At Elon, High-impact practices like study abroad and undergraduate research are indeed high impact because they are relationship rich. Think about your undergraduate research experience and your mentor who read 50 drafts of your paper, or how well you got to know a faculty member during a winter term or a full semester study abroad, your first semester Elon 101 seminar teacher, or your global instructor, your seminar professor in your senior capstone course. All of these represent relationships and experiences that you are going to carry with you long after you graduate. Class of 2016, the world needs your great talents. Let these experiences and mentoring relationships guide you on the next stage of your journey. What passes for leadership in our world today is far too often cynical or polarizing. Leadership in the 21st century is about tackling complex and important problems without easy answers. The world needs more creative problem solvers, more thinkers. The world needs you. You've already modeled deep and critical thinking on multifaceted problems here at Elon as undergraduates. Hence, my deep conviction: the world needs Elon graduates. And your alma mater will need you as well. Tomorrow you're going to join the ranks of Elon's proud alumni. And as alumni, you will represent Elon's future, not its past. And we need your passion, your talents, and your great ideas connected back to this campus. In this room tonight, I see not only future leaders of the 21st century out in the wider world, I see future Elon trustees, and maybe even one of Elon's future presidents. We are still a young university and need an active and engaged alumni body to steward this great university forward, and I'm going to rely on you to take care of your alma mater. So we have a date, all of us, to meet again tomorrow. The time has passed in the blink of an eye. Congratulations once again, class of 2016. The best is yet to come. Long live Elon.
Thank you so much, President Lambert. And speaking of the class of 2016, they are on the wings in here, so it's time to introduce those classes. In your brochures, they're all listed and you can read all about them, but I will read them all off. We have the Lumen Scholars, the Honors Fellows, the Elon College Fellows, the Business Fellows, the Communications Fellows, Teaching Fellows, Periclean Scholars, and the Isabella Cannon Leadership Fellows. So you can read about them in your brochure, and right now we'd like to highlight some of the impressive qualities that this class has.
Our classmates entered Elon University 4 years ago, with records already setting them apart as leaders of the 21st century. Their academic profiles matched incoming classes of schools like Vanderbilt, Boston College, and Georgetown. Over the past 4 years, they have made the most of an Elon education. First and foremost, they have excelled in the classroom. The majority of this group will graduate tomorrow, rain or shine, with a 3.5 or above cumulative GPA, earning them the Latin awards of magna cum laude, summa cum laude, or cum laude. An impressive number of our classmates sitting here have been inducted into the most prestigious honor societies, including Phi Beta Kappa and Phi Kappa Phi.
And on top of that, representing almost every undergraduate, major and minor, they have engaged in the 5 Elon experiences. Those are study abroad, internships, undergraduate research, service, and leadership at rates often exceeding the campus average.
They have engaged in global study around the globe and in both hemispheres, from LA to New York, to London and Florence, to Ecuador and Peru, to Ghana and South Africa, to India and China.
And having exceeded the university's internship rate of 86%, more than 20% of the students completed between 2 and 4 internships, many of them being abroad. Those were with companies such as NBC, ESPN, Turner Broadcasting, L'Oreal, Pfizer, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and SAS.
Doubling the university average, over 40% of our classmates have participated in an extended, mentored undergraduate research project with a faculty member. They have won every Elon University endowed scholarship that supports undergraduate research. They have delivered more than 200 presentations of their research or performances of their creative work, and a number have already professionally peer-reviewed research articles published or accepted for publication.
Those here have completed untold service hours, both regionally, nationally, and internationally.
Our classmates have held an immense range of campus leadership roles. They have been leaders in multi-faith, student government, campus rec, the writing center, the sales team, student media, Greek life, club sports, the Elon Poll, and campus kitchen, just to name a few. And they have led as teaching assistants, NCAA Division I student athletes, orientation leaders, tour guides, executive interns, and tutors, again, just to name a few.
Their excellence as leaders of the 21st century is clearly recognized beyond the world of Elon's bricks. 10 of this year's group of fellows and scholars have won highly competitive and prestigious international fellowships, including Fulbrights and an NSF Research Fellowship. Many are looking ahead to positions with leading companies across the globe, and a significant number are looking to pursue graduate study at leading research institutions such as Emory, Berkeley, and Duke.
May we ask this year's class of fellows and scholars to stand. Please join us in recognizing our amazing classmates. Also, need we not forget, please help us extend a big thank you to our families and friends who have supported us through our long journey to this day and tomorrow, and who will continue to support us as we transition into our next set of adventures. It has been a wonderful adventure, and now we look forward to sharing some of that adventure with you. Let's take a look.
Our fellows come to us as strong academic individuals already, and we want to provide opportunities that really stretch them to grow into people who are successful academic individuals, but who also have an impact beyond just themselves.
Elon in general has given me so many opportunities, and I think the Com Fellows program is just a further extension of that. I mean, I have traveled all over the country, starting from Atlanta just a month or so into my freshman year to now somehow being a senior, and I've gone to Texas, I've gone to Philadelphia, I've gone to New Orleans. The travel component is a big part, but really it's taking what is fundamentally taught inside the classroom and taking it outside, and that's really where that breadth of experience comes in.
Some unique opportunities that I had by being a fellow is a close mentorship with my honors mentor. In addition, I've just had a group of peers around me that always push me and encourage me, and we are always competing with each other. It's just a competitive nature, just to be better and to do the best that we possibly can do.
Having close to 30 members of the class of 2016 as leadership fellows with me and working with them over the course of the 4 years, and having that support system all across campus, not just as business majors, not just as a specific major, but specific people all across the campus, was one of the best benefits I could have ever thought of.
The biggest thing, I think, is just coming to Elon and immediately having exposure, not only to opportunities within the major, but also exposure with the other Com Fellows that have done so many incredible things. And that type of exposure also is really huge and has enabled me to kind of develop my own professionalism and verbal communication skills, and really just being able to market myself as a brand.
I had the opportunity to work with a mentor in my department, which was really great because one of the things that I got to do was read a lot, which was most of my research. So it was really awesome that I got to explore my passion and expand my view of literature.
I actually didn't initially get into the Fellows program my freshman year. I received a lateral
admittance my sophomore year. And I think since then the opportunity has really been the idea of the cohort and, having a network of people who are all, very driven, very interested in, putting their best foot forward out of college, and having kind of peers that you can bounce ideas off of like that is kind of an invaluable resource.
One of the coolest things about the program is you get to go to Atlanta your first year on campus, and you get to tour CNN headquarters as well as other Atlanta media outlets. And that really gets you right into the business right away as a freshman.
The greatest opportunities that I've gotten from Periclean has been the ability to be really challenged. We had trouble working with each other because we have 30 really passionate, really strong-minded people with huge ideas in the same room. Something grew out of it that I didn't expect at the beginning.
The opportunity to work with different leaders with different passions, different interests, and different strengths was really something that I tried to tackle, and at first it scared me, but then having that opportunity to really learn about myself in that way was really impactful. So that's what I would say was a huge opportunity that I really hope to take advantage of, and I got to accomplish, and has really built me.
It gives you a lot of opportunities from day one. I think one is the network of people and the friendships that you form. Also, it gives you stronger connections with a lot of the faculty and staff at Elon that you maybe wouldn't have made connections with otherwise.
Periclean Scholars has actually been a really big part of my Elon experience. It's really sort of helped me broaden my understanding of different global views and perspectives, and it sort of has challenged me to look further and look deeper in terms of building relations with people that I meet along the way, as well as just asking the harder questions.
Being with a group of people that were as motivated and determined as I was to get things done and to see success later in life was really motivating for me. And being with other individuals who were seeking the same opportunities that I was helped me to realize things that I might find of interest in the future.
Some of the opportunities that we've had are we got to go on a history study tour our first year. We got to travel up and down the East Coast. I also got to study abroad in London as part of Teaching Fellows. So the Fellows has given me many different experiences which have just helped me become a better educator.
We have an opportunity to have a course every semester with the same group of people, and I think that's kind of unique to Elon because even if you're in the same major, you might not have the same group. And I think it becomes a different sense of trust than I have in any other program.
It's difficult in a short video clip to tell you much about our experiences as fellows and scholars. So not only will we have a few of our classmates share about their work and experiences more in depth, but we also invite you, yes, that's all of you, to come check out our work and speak with us about our experiences after our event today.
For a little taste of some of the work, we'd first like to introduce Mia Watkins. Mia Watkins is a communications fellow, a cinema and television arts major, and a decorated film artist, and she's going to talk a little bit about her short film, Rebreathe, in the process. Always with a smile on her face, Mia Watkins.
Thank you, Rajad and Meredith. Here we go. If you're wondering about the image you see just now, that is my desktop screensaver. My mom used to say that due to my imagination, that is what you would see if you opened up my head. As a comm fellow, I learned that Elon University gives you the tools to succeed, and that with these tools, we should strive to produce and create something that is bigger than ourselves. I remember Fellows Weekend when Dr. Tompkins asked me, "Have you seen our editing suites?" And like the editing geek I was, I followed her into the comm school's basement, where I immediately knew I was home. I didn't know it then, but my new home would help me share a story of my old one. In early August 2014, I returned to my hometown of Ferguson, Missouri. I was ready to rest and recharge before returning to Elon for residence life training. On August 9th, my brother, mother, and I went out for a drive. Before we get to the traffic light, a neighbor shouts to us, "Don't turn right. A boy just got shot. So we went left. If we had turned right, we would have ran into a vibrant parade of police lights blending with the summer air less than 2 minutes away. On August 9th, 2014, Michael Brown was shot. As fall approached, Elon University invited me to speak to the student body about my hometown. Friends and family reached out to me, and my professors checked up on me. Yet for a while, I was extremely angry and upset. My backyard constantly made appearances on CNN as protesters and militarized police collided. When I came home for Thanksgiving, I thought I was in a war zone. Lights, camera, and tear gas. I watched the chaos continue from afar, returning to Elon. I noticed there was bias in the headlines. The nightly news didn't provide the whole truth. I watched the news and saw one thing, called my mom, who witnessed it all, and heard another. I went to college with the optimism that the world was going to be a more progressive place than when I came out of it. I didn't understand why this kept happening to people of color over and over and over again. In January 2015, the president of the Black Student Union approached me with a project. BSU was planning an art showcase for Elon's African-American student body on their feelings of Michael Brown, Eric Gardner, and others. I was asked to create a video piece for it. The editing suites became more than a hangout with friends or the birth of quirky college films. It became the only tool I knew how to use to fight back. I took my frustrations, my tears, my anxieties, and my aspirations and created something that would be eventually called Rebreathe. It is a short film of a young African-American woman voicing her fears and hopes in today's America. I say in my poem, the dreams of my ancestors are clawing their way out their graves, screaming to take our stance, screaming to look beyond the present, screaming to plant patience in the heart of the anger that grows with every ebony face that returns to the dust. This is how cold bullets welcome a warm body, and I grow tired of waiting. Through the video editing process, I didn't know if protesting was enough. I thought, a short film isn't going to do much good. Who is this going to help? But with the help of 2 awesome filmmakers and 1 awesome actress, Rebreathe evolved into something I never imagined. Rebreathe not only touched my student body at the BSU Art Showcase, but touched many individuals as it screened at the Citizen Jane Film Festival, the San Francisco Black Film Festival, Alice Fest, the Real Sisters of the African Diaspora, Trinity College's Student Film Festival, and the National Film Festival for Talented Youth. The words I wrote became a form of protest in my own right. Rebreathe contributed to a wealth of stories unheard by people of color, stories I knew too well, stories that could have been my brother, a friend, or even me. I am grateful to have been here, to have space to share my story, and to have the tools to give it life. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mia. Fellows and scholars have the opportunity to work in a wide range of disciplines, from communications, as in the case of Mia, to sciences, social science, humanities, and business. We are now happy to introduce 2 fellows from education, teaching fellows Tabitha Kaur and Robin Gottlieb. Tabitha is an elementary education major and a Phi Kappa Phi inductee who will serve as a Peace Corps volunteer in the Dominican Republic after graduation. And Robin is a special education and elementary education major who recently completed service as a special education and third grade student teacher at Pleasant Grove Elementary. Tabitha and Robin will share some of their work they were inspired to do during their time in Costa Rica.
Hi, my name is Tabitha.
And I'm Robin. In our second year here at Elon, we studied abroad in Costa Rica through our Teaching Fellows program. While we were abroad, we lived with a host family, we interned in the community, and we also took classes at a local university. Elon professor Tom Arcaro traveled with us too, and taught one of our classes while we were there called Costa Rica Contemporary Culture. In that class, we wrote a series of essays focusing on various aspects of society, including government, religion, economics, and play. And to write these essays, we spent time doing extensive research, and we used our own experiences to compare our new Costa Rican culture to our familiar American one.
From the very beginning, we were constantly identified as Americans simply because of the color of our skin and our hair. We were always in the spotlight, no matter where we were, which continued to be a source of discomfort for us. Because we were labeled as Americans, we were also labeled privileged, egocentric, and honestly dumb. One time, Robin and I were riding a public bus back from our internships as part of our daily routine after having lived there for 4 months. 2 Costa Ricans sitting behind us on the bus began to gossip about our American looks in Spanish, assuming that there was obviously no way that we could understand them. As more of these instances continued to happen during our time in Costa Rica, we began to feel more and more ashamed of our American identity and worked to distance ourselves from it.
As these thoughts became more apparent in our comparative essays, Dr. Arcaro approached us about turning these essays into a book. When we returned to the United States, we sifted through the 154 essays that we and our classmates had written, and we chose what we thought were the most eye-opening ones, and we edited them to be published. We also surveyed our peers on their experiences upon returning to the United States and made that the final chapter of our book before we published it on Amazon.com, with all proceeds supporting Elon Study Abroad scholarships. Feel free to check it out. Shameless plug. It became part of the curriculum for the cohort of Teaching Fellows the following year when they went to Costa Rica. And it is now a product of our cultural understandings and experiences, all preserved in a 288-page book. It's an artifact of the deep changes that our American brains went through, and it is now a tool to help future students process their own experiences.
Once we were back in the United States and we were rereading our experiences and editing our essays, we realized that the spotlight of the negative American stereotypes did not follow us home. We actually started to become grateful for the diversity of the United States. Looking back at that experience on the bus in Costa Rica, we can now see that that wouldn't really happen at home. We live in such a melting pot that Robin and I would never look at a stranger and assume that they're not American simply because of their looks. Whether good or bad, our semester heightened our sense of American identity. We are so thankful to have had these experiences that shaped our cultural thinking, because you're never really forced to examine your own culture until you leave it and step into someone else's. Thank you.
With this group of students who are graduating this year, they all came into college 4 years ago with a whole new set of challenges, whether it be meeting a new roommate or living away from home for the first time. But the students in these programs have an additional challenge. They are being asked to do additional work, to do additional service, to do extra learning. These challenges actually make them better people and have made them the people who are walking across the stage today.
Coming from high school academics, we're very comfortable with following a syllabus or having projects that are already outlined for us. So coming in and realizing that I needed to set my own parameters and decide what I wanted to study and how I wanted to study it, that was probably my biggest challenge, just because facing that uncertainty and realizing that there are basically no limits with what I can do here.
I think one of the biggest challenges is just trying to balance everything. We all want to be super involved, and it's a lot and overwhelming, but through that experience, you just gain a lot in terms of stepping up as a leader in those organizations and really becoming a mentor to other fellows and helping them out as they process that journey as well.
As college fellows, we all come in just kind of curious about everything. We want to know the answers to all the questions of the world, which is great, but then also you kind of have to hone in on your interests.
My biggest challenges was just learning how to work with others who had different skill sets that I had. And the Leadership Fellows, especially in the workshops, taught me how to work with those and also to excel with those people who had different skill sets in order to achieve a common goal.
In Periclean Scholars, you have to decide how you decide decisions, how you come to agreement, and for a program that becomes so personal, a lot of these agreements become kind of heated and emotional and personal. So that's definitely one of the biggest challenges we faced.
One of the biggest challenges of being an honors fellow is just having to do the entire thesis project, which can be kind of overwhelming approaching it. I would say that I really learned how to think creatively and think like a scientist and kind of turn some of my broad, more general interests into really meaningful questions that I was able to address through my research project and through my honors thesis.
I had some mental blocks in terms of feeling like, oh, I'm not perfectly fluent, like I can't do this, and having mentors who supported me through that and really just encouraged like my own linguistic development and also like making relationships in the community.
The challenges that I've faced with being a Lumen Scholar have definitely been time management and also working with partner organizations for my research. I've found that I've had to compromise to meet the needs of both my research and the partner organizations.
My biggest challenge was probably coming up with a solid definition of who I would be, not only as a person, but as a teacher. And I find myself becoming a stronger leader in every day, whether it's amongst my friend group, whether it's within my Teaching Fellows cohort, in my classes, and then now finally in my classroom.
The biggest challenge to being a fellow is to allow the program to totally change the way you think. So it's not, the academic journey I took in the Fellows was not like one I've taken before. It's not just learning content, it's learning how to think and how to use that content and how to criticize it and analyze it and question it and make it your own.
It's really challenging, obviously, going through the transition of high school to college and having that cohort of 25 people the second you get there. The group that you're going to spend the next 4 years with was one of my favorite experiences in my college career. My whole cohort was there if I needed, willing to prep me at any time, willing to help me with interview help. And they are my biggest support system during that time.
Challenges for research, there are multiple. At the end, you may not get the results that you want, but what I think I learned from that is that a lot of times research, the process around it, really is just about finding new questions that you want to answer, and that's kind of the motivating force that keeps you going. It's not about the answer, it's not a means to the end, it's about finding the next question that you can kind of start tackling.
Particularly in research, it doesn't always work out the way you want it to, which is part of the process. And just having a mentor that goes with you and kind of laughs along with when things aren't working out and keeps you motivated to keep going is really important.
We simply could not have pushed through these struggles and achieved what we have without the leadership, support, and world-class mentoring we receive from faculty and program directors who run these Fellows and Scholars programs. Please join us in recognizing our directors and faculty mentors.
Please stand up. Sometimes the expertise and leadership needed is deeply interdisciplinary and requires its own design. Enter Jensen Roll. Jensen is an independent major, a leadership fellow, and a leadership studies minor. He's also a social entrepreneur, and he will speak a little bit about how he addressed the food insecurity right here in Alamance County. Many of you heard from Jensen, a baccalaureate, but you can never hear too much of his story and all the great work he's done. Jensen Roll.
Thank you for that introduction. And before I begin, I would like you to keep this image of a dollar in mind, as I will refer back to it a little further along in my talk. So in contrast to many of my peers here today, I would like to talk with you about something that I've been working on that isn't too difficult to understand. It's an age-old issue: hunger. When I was younger, I can remember going to the food pantry after church to serve lunch with my family. In doing so, I learned that not everyone is as blessed as I was to have 3 meals provided a day. After coming to Elon, I've been able to further understand this issue and make strides towards ending it. In the beginning of my sophomore year, I was hanging out in the business school with one of my best friends, Chris Coble. And I came up with an idea of how I thought I could end hunger through a sustainable business. This idea stemmed from work that I was doing in a sociology class taught by Professor Angela Llewellyn-Jones, as well as an entrepreneurship class taught by Professor Gary Palin. The idea was to engage and enable customers of local restaurants to support individuals within the community who were unable to afford food for themselves. With the help of faculty and staff in the school and friends from my Bible study, I was able to start a 501c3 nonprofit called HOPE, Helping Other People Eat. HOPE provides sustainable financial support to local food pantries by partnering with restaurants. This allows us to educate the public on local issues of hunger, as well as collect micro-donations. Running a nonprofit, as you might imagine, as well as being a full-time student, can be very difficult. And in the beginning, we almost had to stop operations due to some politics that we hadn't currently yet understood. Through miscommunication on our part and poor wording in some of our marketing materials, we created an adverse impact for one of our community stakeholders, and we learned a valuable lesson. Perceived truth of a message can outweigh the actual truth if that message is not portrayed properly. In short, messaging matters. Fortunately, we were able to overcome this hurdle and many others like it to keep hope going. Up till this point, we've been able to raise more than $11,000 towards feeding hunger in the local community. Each dollar that we give to a local food pantry, think of the dollar that you saw earlier, it's $1. Each dollar that we give to local food pantries can be contributed up to 5 pounds of food for helping other people eat. We are also very excited to announce the release of our mobile app next month. This mobile app will provide a convenient platform for mobile donations through just the click of a button on your smartphone. So what I would really like you to understand in my message today is that hunger is more than the person that you see on the street asking for spare change. Hunger is 1 in 5 children locally who go to school each day without knowing where their next meal might be coming from. Hunger is the elderly person who can no longer work and might not be able to afford their groceries. Hunger is an issue that can be solved $1 at a time. Anybody with a disposable dollar of income can get involved with this. So if this is something that's interesting to you or you would like to learn more, I would encourage you to visit our website at hopecertified.com. Thank you.
They come in as high school students, and the growth that you see is amazing and dramatic over the 4 years. In fact, you could specifically look at them as being 18, 19-year-olds that you interview during the Fellows Weekend, and then you see them graduating with their medals and walking across the stage. You know they have gone above and beyond. You know they have dug deep and had moments when it was frustrating, but at the same time overcome it in order to graduate as a fellow.
It was really exciting to take ownership of a project in the field of science, especially because it's a difficult field to just jump in and do research in. And I found that a lot of what I learned in my Fellows program and in doing my thesis project helped translate into success in my internship.
Periclean has definitely helped me gain more of an insight into the things that I value personally, and also trying to look for learning and expand my worldview and everything that I do, and always being questioning, I think, is something that I've definitely taken away from the program.
My biggest accomplishments are probably doing some good research and also holding a leadership role with Habitat for Humanity. And I think the Honors Fellows program has prepared me to be an intellectual and ask questions.
Being at Elon, I've made some really strong connections with people that I feel like I will know for the rest of my life. So that I feel is a huge accomplishment. I've loved the people I've gotten to work with, spend time with here, and that is something I don't take for granted.
I never pictured myself as a leader, but the Communications Fellows program really taught me to tap into that side of myself. And now I'm confident and I can stand up in front of a group of people and lead them in the field that I love.
My biggest accomplishment, I would say, is just knowing that I'm able to accomplish something that I didn't think I would. So coming into this research, it sounds daunting on top of dance and science, blending two that I remember initially people were like, no, you can't do that, and just telling me that I couldn't and knowing that I can and being able to figure out things on my own. I guess I've developed an independence of sorts that I didn't think I had before.
Periclean's helped me in two ways, really. One is being a part of that team, knowing how to work in difficult environments as well as in a great team environment. And the other way that it's going to help my career is we've done a lot in learning how to study people and cultures and how to interact with them properly. And I'd love to do international and cross-cultural advertising and doing consumer analysis, and I'll be able to take the skills that I got in Periclean to that.
I think the biggest accomplishment is just growing as a teacher and seeing myself looking back on freshman year, going into my very first classroom. I was nervous and kind of like, oh, what am I doing? Then being in the classroom since freshman year has really prepared me to have my own classroom next year. It's scary, but I think I feel as prepared as I can be.
I am very proud of the fact that I can say that I am an Elon Teaching Fellow and was an Elon Teaching Fellow in the future. I think it's also just given me a lot of confidence and a lot of motivation to go out and do my best, and I feel like I'm much more prepared to go out and face the field because of my experiences with Teaching Fellows.
Honestly, I think it just sort of forced me to grow up a little bit and take on a lot more responsibility with my college work. It really forced me to take ownership of my work, and I had never really been exposed to that before. And so I think that was really exciting for me, being able to take ownership of my scholarship and really push myself to produce something worthwhile at the end.
My biggest accomplishment has been able to be doing my own independent research. I'm not just working on a faculty member's research. I'm really doing my own research project and writing up my results, and that has allowed me to go on to the next step in my life, which I definitely would not have been able to feel comfortable going into without this research experience.
Being a Lumen has prepared me for the future in a bunch of awesome ways. For example, it's taught me key research skills that I'm going to use in graduate school and further on, and it's also just given me a whole lot of confidence in myself as a researcher, which is something that's never going to be taken away.
The Leadership Fellows program gave me an opportunity to expand my network, to create meaningful relationships with mentors, and the program really prepared me for the future because I have the people skills, I'm confident working with others, and I know my strengths and weaknesses, and that's something that I will treasure beyond Elon.
Looking toward the future, I know that the Communications Fellows program is something that's going to stick with me. The leadership skills that I learned, the interviewing skills, and just the ability to be outgoing and put myself out there, I think is going to be the thing that helps me stand out as I climb the entertainment corporate ladder.
Our next speaker is no stranger to accomplishment. You know that cliche, shoot for the stars? Well, not only has she done it, literally, but she is also, let's be honest, one of the most humble people you will ever meet. Now get this, I want to read it because I don't want to get it wrong because you're going to be like, whoa, okay. A physics and philosophy double major, Lumen Scholar, Honors Fellow, and only the second Elon student to be a Rhodes finalist, will share some of her research on computational astrophysics. We are very happy and excited to welcome Helen Mischedza.
Thank you.
Have you ever looked up at the constellation Orion and noticed that under Orion's belt, at the center of Orion's sword, there's a fuzzy-looking object that's not quite as sharp as the stars that surround it? That object, circled on the screen beside me, is known as Orion Nebula, and it's actually not a star, it's a star-forming region. It's a pocket where a bunch of baby stars are being born at rates 10 to 100 times higher than an average galaxy like our Milky Way. It's these kinds of star-forming regions, called starburst galaxies, that have been the subject of my honors thesis research. I hadn't been too interested in astronomy growing up because it seemed like everything was either too well known or too far away to know about. However, working as an undergraduate researcher in a field called computational astrophysics this summer after my first year here at Elon changed my outlook on astronomy. Computational astrophysics uses high-performing computers to model astronomical systems and investigate the contemporary questions that trouble astronomers. That summer brought astronomy within my reach. I became fascinated with the prospect of modeling complex physical systems like the Orion Nebula. I came back to Elon in the fall excited by this research, and by some amazing coincidence, that fall was also when computational astrophysicist and soon-to-be my mentor, Dr. Chris Richardson, began working at Elon. Together, we've spent the past 3 years modeling how the emitted radiation of stars interacts with the surrounding nebula, creating the emission lines which then travel millions of light years through space and into the telescopes of astronomers on Earth. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, first of all, I don't know if you all can see this, but Helen has the coolest jacket on today of everyone. It's NASA. That's so cool. Okay. You all just shouldn't, I don't know if you people in the back, but you ought to know that that exists, because that's awesome. Okay, so Helen, not only was that completely pun intended out of this world, but man, whoa, that was some melt your brain kind of stuff. So much to ask you about. So we welcome back to the stage President Lambert to get us started on some of those questions.
I had the privilege of interviewing Helen for her Rhodes Scholarship, and I said to a faculty member, Tom Hendricks, afterwards, I have just met the most incredible student I think I've ever met. She's an incredible person. You're going to have an opportunity after this session is over in a few minutes to meet all of these incredible fellows and scholars, and I encourage you to take the opportunity. It'll be the highlight of your weekend, and you're going to be very impressed. But Helen, I need to ask you, you had said that maybe initially you were not drawn to astronomy, but there had to be something that was drawing you towards that work. What drew you into this research, and what kept driving you in as you moved along?
So I kind of stumbled into it, to be honest. So the summer after my first year here at Elon, I was looking for internships to do during that summer. And I had 2 criteria. I wanted something that was close to home, and I wanted to not be in a traditional science lab setting. And I found that computational astrophysics, in addition to having a really awesome sounding name, fulfilled my criteria for an internship. So I ended up working in it that summer, and I really enjoyed the work, so I wanted to continue it during my time at Elon. And I think the thing that continued to fascinate me about it was the relationship of my work to the broader questions in astronomy. So as I was reading the papers necessary for my research, I was always trying to connect it back to the particular questions that I was asking.
So it's unusual to have a double major in physics and philosophy. Tell me more about your love of philosophy and what caused you to put those 2 disciplines together, and you're going on to graduate school to pursue philosophy of science. Tell me about that combination of interests and how you put them together.
Yeah, so the most startling thing for me, a few years back, I was looking on the NASA website, and I was looking at some of the big questions that they have that astronomy is trying to answer. Where do we come from? How was our galaxy formed? And I was thinking, those also sound like philosophy could take a stab at them. So I really think they do kind of address some of the same questions in different manners. So I see them overlapping in that way, and that's how I combine them myself. And that's the overlap that I want to work in my graduate studies.
The big cosmic questions. So you're going to be pursuing a master's degree at the University of Western Ontario. What do you see yourself doing after that?
I'm not sure yet. So I'm thinking that I'd like to pursue PhD studies, and I'll have some time then to figure it out.
This is an extraordinary young woman. How about a round of applause for Helen Muskidze?
Thank you so much, Helen, and thank you, President Lambert. I'm gonna go rest my brain for a little bit.
I agree. Before we close this formal portion of the event, let's give our classmates, fellows and scholars, and dear friends from the class of 2016 another big old round of applause. If you haven't heard, tomorrow, we become graduates of our dear alma mater, Elon University. Give yourself a round of applause for that, guys. We thank you all for the support you have given us throughout this adventure, and we look forward to speaking with you after about our Fellows and Scholars experiences during the student engagement reception to follow.
Thank you so much for coming out, and a special thank you to Professor Kevin Otos for organizing this. He's over there in the back on the left, put this all together, a great event. We invite you guys to go through these doors. There's snacks, food, and drinks, and wander around and see what we've been up to for the past 4 years. Thank you so much.